Peace and love, butterflies. Guess where I'm at? I'm at work. But I got a break, and it's a nice one. So I thought I'd come on here and redo the commitment conversation. I didn't really have a super amount of time to prepare because, at my job, it was a couple complications. So I got to break, later than I thought. But that's neither here nor there. Welcome to our Monday lives. Even though we're not live right now, it's okay. This is a reiteration of the conversation that we had this past Monday, and I wasn't able to get the audio from that. So, we're redoing it. And, the conversation was about commitment. So here we are, being exactly that, doing exactly that, not giving up, showing up when we can. And I trusted myself, and I'm very happy that I did that, very proud of myself and thankful for just the person that I'm becoming because I'm really committed. So a few things that I wanted to talk about. We always start, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me with your time, energy, and space. And, joining me in this conversation about commitment, because a lot of us right now are, celebrating the new year still. We're still in that energy of vision boarding and setting our goals and making our New Year's resolutions. We're still very much so in that fresh honeymoon phase energy. And I feel like that's a perfect time to really get clear on things and really just remind yourself of what it's going to take to really see this through, whatever it is for you, whether it's a business venture, a creative endeavor, a relationship, transformation within yourself, whatever it is. It's really important right now with this lovely, positive, encouraging, empowering energy to tap into yes, all of those things, and then commitment, which can exist in this positive light. But I do want to talk about what it's like when the commitment is not fun, it's not sexy, and it's not easy. Let's get into it. I'm really excited about this conversation. I want to keep it at that energy to provide a little bit more of the butterfly backstory, because I always like to, talk about why I'm in this energy. And I kind of just explained it about just the new year energy. And, some of us believe it's a new year, some of us a half point. Either way, it's 2024. So for a lot of people, it's a restart, recommitting and things like that. So that's why I'm here. And it's so funny because I feel very prepared to talk about this conversation because of how my life has panned out. But also it's funny because at the end of October, I celebrated the first time I did the Butterfly Experience podcast weekly, correctly, efficiently, for a whole month. And I am a Sag, Sun, and Moon, Gemini rising. So that goes to say there aren't a lot of things I've committed to doing every day for any period of time. So it really, just put a gold star on having that moment. And it's so funny because right after that whole October of just that streak of greatness, November, I was not completely, but I was definitely dormant compared to what I was in October. I definitely took a whole month off. And like I said, it's so interesting because it was literally right after I just celebrated doing something so consistently. And, I went through this chapter of should I come back to podcasting? Is that something I should recommit to? I started feeling no, because I made up reasons in my mind about just I'm not as motivated about it. I don't like it as much. I'm not getting the ROI I want, different things like that. When I say ROI, return of investment, I'm not getting, it's just not making sense. And I kept waiting for it to feel good again and to feel like I had that passion, that drive towards it. And it's just it never really came. And I just decided I can't even say that I had this burst of motivation, because that's not what happened. That's not why I came back to podcasting and I started my, December off right. That's not why. I did it because I always have made the decision to fall off of something because it doesn't feel good or whatever. I'm just I just want to do something different. I've went about it one way for so long. I just wanted to try something different and see if it worked. I heard about how people continue to do things even when they don't feel like it or even whatever. I was like, you know what? Let me try that with my podcast. Let me see what happens. So it wasn't because I didn't come back to this because I felt so good about it or I felt so driven or nothing like that. It was literally just me trying something new. And I'm so glad I did, because what I realized is it's not even that I didn't want to come back. The underlying reason wasn't because I didn't feel the spark no more, this or that. It was the disappointment. I was so disappointed that I fell off. And mind you, this is subconsciously, on a deep level. This isn't something you realize on surface level. But I realized I was so stuck on being disappointed that I took so long to come back, and that I fell off in the first place, that I was staying in that disappointment and I wasn't thinking about the fact that I wasn't seeing the opportunity. I wasn't giving myself grace. I wasn't recommitting. I was just stuck in disappointment. And it's being stuck there that disappointment will talk you out of recommitting. Because in that disappointment comes doubt, comes fear, comes unworthiness, and things all of these things that don't have to be true if you don't energize it. And so, I was let me just try something different. So I came back to it, and it's great. Like, I'm so glad I came back to it. We're still growing. We're still here. I'm still putting the work in. I'm still learning. I'm still, becoming a better person because of the life lessons I'm learning as I commit to not only the podcast, but other things in my life. And so, yes, that's why I'm here. And that's the story that I wanted to share with y'all. And we'll talk more about plenty of things, because there's a lot to that story. Like, for example, just realizing that recommitment is a part of the process. Like, commitment isn't always about a linear or like the same thing every time, or like you get a dunk every time or a bullseye every time, or like you never fall off. Showing true commitment is falling off, because that's life, right? Quote unquote falling off, or just like having a dormant chapter or taking a break for whatever reason, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. What shows true commitment is being able to come back and keep trying to find a way to sustain it. Like, yes, sustaining it and consistency is the goal, but it's like in the process of learning that, you're not only learning how to be consistent, but you're learning about yourself as a person, and you're developing a skill, because commitment is a skill, right? So it's really like that whole falling off and coming back thing is something to be proud of, because it's like the fact that you even still want to come back, or are curious about it, or are doing what you can figure out to do to motivate yourself or get back to it, and then you get back to it. Like, there's so much strength in that. Like, once you've built it and you just skating on what you've built, that's easier. You know what I'm saying? Not the building process, but skating on what you've built already is easy. But the building part is hard. Getting to that point of literally reprogramming yourself to be a committed person and like be faithful and devoted and loyal is like a whole fucking process, and you should definitely be proud of that. So I wanted to speak on that. And the other thing that I wanted to say is like, of course, I love to talk about like why things happen. Like, why do we fall off, and like what can help us not fall off? So that's going to be the theme of this next part. So, wow, I got through a lot in 6 minutes, in 7 minutes. That's amazing. So I believe, and I've said this in a reel that I'm going to post. Make sure you follow us at the Butterfly Experience Podcast. But I believe that I talked in the beginning about how things can become not fun, not sexy, not easy. And I really think we should start with asking ourselves, what is our reaction when things don't feel good anymore? What do we equate that to in our mind? Do we equate feeling good to healthy? Do we equate feeling good to growth? Do we equate feeling good? And then, like, this is a conversation that I had before too, when I was talking about like growth and well-being. I'm not sure if I made that episode public, but I had a very vulnerable conversation about growth and well-being and how it's not the same thing, and they don't always coexist. And so bringing it back to this conversation, it's like, okay, what do you do? Like, what does it not feeling good anymore, it not being attractive, what does that equate to in your mind? And then what becomes the reaction? So if, for example, if you are in a relationship and you get up and, you're just like not attracted to that person in that moment, like maybe they did something that irritated you or upset you, angered you, offended you. And so they're not attractive in your mind anymore right now. They're very much so annoying, very much so irritated you, very much so. To some people, like, it can go so far as like you're an op for a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my defense mechanisms are up, whatever. What do you do in those moments? Do you then drown in a wormhole of maybe we're not meant to be? I knew this wouldn't work. Like, I don't even want to try to fix the issue. I don't want to talk about it. Is that your reaction? Is your reaction something else? Like, I just need space to process. I need space to process. I have a lot of negative thoughts right now. I just got a lot going on in my head and I need time, whatever. But that doesn't mean I'm going to make any drastic decisions. Is it like, what's your reaction? And I'm not saying that second one was way better than the first one, but just, it's about self-inquiry. It's not about solutions, and it's not about intention. Really have an honest, vulnerable conversation with yourself about what your genuine reactions be in these moments, like have been so far and are presently. Like, what are they? And again, be honest, and it's about self-inquiry, not about solution or trying to fix yourself or saying what you would have done or you wanted to do. Like, if you know that you wanted to have a attitude, you wanted to be empathetic, but you had an attitude, or, you wanted to be understanding, but you were angry, stuff like that. Like, be honest about that and ask yourself, what are your reactions? Do you equate I'm not attracted to you anymore to an ending? Or I'm not attracted to this thing anymore to an ending? If it's not fun, if it's not easy, if it's not sexy, is it now ending? Is it unimportant? Do you devalue things because they aren't attractive to you anymore, or because they aren't fun or sexy or easy? You know what I'm saying? So I keep using those words because those are the main things people be looking for. They look for fun, sexiness, and easy. So again, like, if it's not that anymore, do you now strip it of its value? and be honest about it. I've definitely stripped things of value once they weren't attractive to me anymore. People and situations, and definitely when it wasn't easy. What? That's like the top one for people, I feel like, is the easiness. If it's not easy and it doesn't immediately make sense or immediately bring validation, a lot of people don't want to do it. And for some things, for some stuff, that mindset is okay. But for most things in life, especially the really rewarding things and the things that are going to, really give you fruits from that labor and really grow you as a person, that shouldn't be the reaction. So, like just really wondering what's your genuine reaction? Be curious about it. And then you can say, what would you like your reaction to be? What do you want to put some thought into the person you want to become? And, do you want to be more empathetic? Do you want to be more patient? Do you want to give yourself more grace? Do you want to be more understanding? Do you want to be more loyal? Do you want to be more faithful? And when we think of loyal and faithful, we think of relationships, but it's not just that. It can be relationship to self and other people, but it can also be to your job. It can also be to your career. It could be to your hobbies. It could be to your whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, being a committed person doesn't just stop. Being a loyal, faithful, devoted person doesn't just stop with relationships or religion. It goes so much deeper than that. And does it inevitably affect you? The relationship to yourself, of course, because you're growing. But yeah, so, start to ask yourself what being a committed person looks like to you. And I had to think about it for myself too. I'm like, what is a committed an Emyne who's committed to her career, an Emyne who's committed to her like wellness mentally, an Emyne who's committed to her relationships, an Emyne who's a committed auntie, a committed singer, a committed educator, like a committed money bag. Like, what does that look like? And as we're moving and transitioning into understanding what our version of committed looks like, it's important to understand the difference between unhealthy attachment and commitment. And so that's something that I really had to think about too, because when I first asked myself, I'm usually really quick with answers. I could really, like, a lot of stuff that's like writing or English or like communication is really just math to me. So it's like, that's my math. So it's a 1, 2, and then it makes sense, right? But I really had to sit back and be like, okay, sometimes you don't really know. You don't really know if something is commitment or unhealthy attachment, because a lot of things, like, for example, having faith in God, people might feel like that's an unhealthy attachment. They might look at it and be like, yo, you don't have tangible proof that this thing exists. But then another person could look at that same thing and be like, there's absolutely God in everything. So it just becomes a very tricky. It can be tricky to know the difference between unhealthy attachment and healthy commitment. And so I think that for each person it's going to be different. But again, that's why I had to just try something different. I would say 3 things. 1, try new things. I came back to the podcast just to try something new. Usually I will fall off from something and not do it anymore because it wasn't fun, because it wasn't easy, it wasn't sexy. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I chose to do something different because I felt like, why not? Why not try something different? You liked it at one point. Let's be curious. Maybe you're not feeling attracted to it now because you're not doing anything with it, because you're stuck in disappointment. Like, try new things. Just try different things. If you know that you're growing and you're a growing person, it's definitely not an issue to just make different decisions. If you see that it's a possibility, it could have a good outcome or a better outcome than what you've had. So 1 is like, try new things. If you feel like, you've been doing something that isn't helping you or isn't growing you, or doesn't feel healthy for you, try something new. And don't be afraid to do that. The other thing is really talks with self. I feel like what you really have to understand why you're doing something, because it's not always going to feel good. It's not always going to feel healthy. Ask yourself why you're doing it. That's like bigger than the first one I said. That was a really big one that I said on my live, was like, ask yourself, get clear, have conversation with yourself and get clear on your why. Get very, very, very clear on your intention, your motivations, your hidden agenda, your purpose, your reason. Like, get clear on your why and get clear on your not whys. Like, this is not the reason. And an example I used was the podcast, the Butterfly Experience podcast. I'm like, I do this because for a few reasons. 1, because it literally is a reason to check in with myself and reflect. Like, literally, it's good for my mental health when I come on here and I talk on live, I talk on audio, whatever it is. It's literally good for me. The other thing is, I love how it affects me, and I love how it affects other people. I love having a platform to express myself. So that's another reason I do it. And it is fun. So it's a lot of work sometimes because I'm building a foundation to be very successful with my podcast. But it's like, it's fun. I like that it, makes me feel like I'm good at things and there's creativity there and stuff like that. I don't do it for people to tell me I'm smart. I don't do it for people to tell me I'm pretty. I don't do it for people to tell me anything positive about myself, because these are things I already know. Do I appreciate the affirmation? Of course, always. We love a compliment, and I love giving compliments, and I love having resonance, but I don't do it for that. Like that, somebody telling me like you're so smart is not going to motivate me on a day where I feel like I'm just not doing what I need to be doing. Sometimes it can, don't get me wrong, but it's not the driving force. The driving force is like, this is something that I know is good for me. And I know that, not saying people depend on it, but people really do check in. And it's like, this could really be like, my podcast episode could be the difference between somebody deciding to do something really harmful and somebody deciding to heal and grow. You know what I'm saying? And with that, it just like makes you feel more motivated. Also, I want to become a more committed person. So me committing to this podcast is not even just about this podcast. It's about me growing as a person and maturing and learning what it really is to be committed to something through all seasons. You know what I'm saying? That's probably like the biggest one too. That's a really heavy hitter. It's like the podcast is not just like the butterfly is not just about being a podcast. It's teaching me things about my life. Same thing about music. Like it's not just about doing music. It's about learning myself as a person and healing and sharing and growth, like for me and for everybody. And so that's what that is. And that may seem like a responsibility, or like, I don't know if it seems egotistical, but it's true. And that's what can motivate me, is like, I want to be a better person. I want to be a more committed person. I want to be able to see things through so that I can really get the reward that I deserve. And in order to do that, I have to see it through. Got to see it through, my boy. Same thing with marriage. It's like, nah, like, I know you were made for me. Like, I know we are blessed. I know that God walks with us. I know that you make me a better person and you heal me. And when we're together, I'm better. And I know that I love you and you love me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe we did have this huge argument and maybe I feel like you're wrong and you don't understand, or maybe I feel defeated and maybe I felt defeated for a long time. Maybe we've been arguing a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe we're going through a rough patch. But at the end of the day, I'm not here for it to feel good all the time. I'm here because I'm experiencing a love that I've never experienced in my life. And I know that is not only going to be good for me, but great. And it's going to come with so many spiritual, mental, financial, everything benefits. That's why I'm staying here, and this is just speaking for anybody, who, can relate to that and resonate with that. It's like, I'm here because I'm supposed to be. I'm here because I love you. And I didn't mean to make it like it's just about benefits, but it's like, those are amazing things that can happen when you're with somebody who is aligned and y'all are in love and stuff like that. It's like, you get benefits, you get blessed. For staying committed and loyal and faithful and honest with that person. So, again, it's just bigger than the podcast. But so that was my, how to tell the difference between like unhealthy attachment and commitment. And you can hear it in your answers. And that's why self-talk is the biggest part of this. Like, you really got to be honest with yourself and have talks with yourself and understand who you are and understand why you do things so that you can combat foreign energy, so that you can really just like make sense of things and motivate yourself and become self-motivated. The other thing, so I talked about my advice for becoming a more committed person. If I could give you advice for, if it's okay, I'd love to give you some advice on becoming a committed person. A few of them I already said: self-talk. Talk to yourself, understand yourself, be curious about yourself, realize why you are the way you are, realize who you are. The second thing is, and that comes with self-talk, the second thing is try new things. If you're really having issues with commitment, maybe you're committing to the wrong thing. Maybe. That's a big maybe. We don't know. Try something new, though. And that's why that self-talk is so important, because talk with yourself, because you want to be sure before I let go. But talk to yourself, figure it out. Figure out if maybe this isn't working for you. And once you get clear of your motivations, you get clear of the end goal, stuff like that, and it's just like it's just not given. It's not given that that's where you should be or what you should be doing, or things aren't aligning or making sense. Once you have that motivation and goal talk with yourself, then maybe try something different. Like change the whole joint, or tweak things. Like maybe it's not that your job is terrible, you should leave your job. Maybe you need to go to bed earlier. Maybe you need to meal prep so that you feel more prepared. Like maybe it's not that your job is too far. Maybe you're just taking the wrong route. Maybe you need to take the highway. You need to stop being scared to get on the highway. Yeah. Okay, that was a big one for me. Stop being afraid of getting on the highway. Get on the highway, girl. Get on the highway. Okay, make a 30-minute trip 15, please. All that taking the streets and them lights and traffic. No, take the highway, okay? I think sometimes our solution isn't just changing the whole thing. It's just maybe changing how you do things. Sometimes it is changing the whole thing. Sometimes the job really is just too far. And it's not paying you enough for how long it takes you to get there and the gas that it takes. You know, maybe it's not. Maybe the relationship isn't worth it. Maybe it's not. Maybe the person is just not, you're not getting nowhere, you know, and it's been 5 years and y'all still ain't getting nowhere. Maybe you should leave. You know what I'm saying? But it just depends. It's up to you. You know your situation. You know, some of us, it's not the relationship, is we need to practice patience. Is we need to really learn how to deal with our anger. Is we need to let go of being right all the time. Or not. Or it's not time for you to learn that lesson yet. And you got to give up for now. You know, it really just depends on you. That's why I'm like, it's situational. It requires self-talk. And talk with your ancestors, talk with God. Whatever you believe in, pray. You know, pray that you, what's the serenity prayer? You know, the strength to change what I can. Let go of what I can't change. And the wisdom to know the difference. I know I butchered it, but y'all get the point. So, yeah. And then also, like, time. It just takes time. You don't become a committed person overnight. And I said this in my live, like, just same way you don't become, like, you can't create a habit in a day. It takes 60 times to do something, about 60 times before it becomes a habit, you know? So time, like, literally, like, I fell off the butterfly for like a year before. I think I did 2 years. Like, I did a year, came back, did another year, like that type time. So, you know, it took a while for me to get to the point where it takes me a month to recover. You know, before it was a year. And a month is a long time, yes, but compared to a year, compared to 2, you know, so it's time. It's time. It's really time. And it's sometimes we think we're working on one thing, like we think we're just working on commitment, but in that we're also working on all these other things, these like inner work things that are happening at the same time. Like there's always layers to this, and there's always complexity within it. So yeah, time, grace, patience. I know you want to be the best that you can be, but it's like, and you think that, like, it's so crazy. I'm saying this to myself. It's like, you think that it's like, I just want to be the best I can be. I want to be the best I can be. And I get that, but you still got to give yourself grace. Like, we get so obsessed with being the most committed person that we can ever be, and like being the most consistent person we can ever be. And it's just like, I hear you and I see that for you, but I need you to be patient with yourself. Be gracious with yourself. You know, these are lessons that and honestly, you don't have no choice but to be gracious, because these are not lessons that you learn overnight. And if you try to force it, it might work, it might not. But yeah, time, grace, and patience for yourself, and knowing that you'll get there. And don't give up on yourself, because that's the easy way. The easy way is to give up. The hard way to show that real commitment is like still being here and still working and still having that desire. And I was talking about this when I was recording the episode last night that I got to put out. I was talking about, you know, positive self-talk and negative self-talk. And it was like, you know, I deserve the positive self-talk I give myself now, not just for the pain I went through to get to this point, but for the fact that there was always a desire in me to feel better about myself. I held on to that when that bully was beating me up all the time. I held on. I still wanted better. Even if I didn't feel it, I wanted better. And eventually I got it. So same with your commitment journey. Like, eventually you'll get it. And you might feel like you took some L's along the way. You lost some things that you really wish you didn't, you know, but all a part of the journey. And if you keep going, you keep living, you keep trying, you keep learning, you keep growing, you know, eventually you'll get it, you know, and it'll be everything that's meant for you. You won't have really taken a loss, because it's all a part of the process. And when you get what you're supposed to have, you'll get what you're supposed to have. You know what I'm saying? So just know that, and keep believing in yourself and keep trying, and know that, again, the falling off and coming back is all a part of the journey. Like, that's still a part of it. You know, like, that's still a part of it, period. That shows, that's the true commitment. The same thing with, like, somebody doing something and they not scared. Okay, that's easy. But doing it scared, man, hats off. You know? So you falling off and coming back, man, pat on the back. Because you came back. You came back to that marriage and you tried to work it out. Or you came back to that relationship and you tried to work it out after you were hurt or you did the hurting. You know, you came back to that career after falling off for a while, after not practicing or rehearsing or studying for a while. You came back. You went back to school. You might have took a break, but you knew you wanted to go, or maybe you didn't go back to school, but you went and took some courses. You know what I'm saying? You went and took some online courses. You got a mentor. You figured it out. You educated yourself. It took time, but you did it. These are things that you'll be able to say one day. So don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, and don't give up on the journey of commitment. And just know that whatever you do wind up committing to is so lucky to have you. So lucky to have you. Because you committed, loyal, faithful, like, man, that's a beautiful love to be experiencing. Whatever will experience it, a person, a situation, a career, like, the love that you have in your heart is a blessing. And I'm so happy for whoever and whatever gets to experience that. You are beautiful, you are strong, you are powerful, you're amazing, and you're a blessing. And you should know that. I think that's really all that I have to say about commitment, and I finished that right before my break is over. That was perfect timing. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I pray that, as we go through this year of 2024, I pray that all your New Year's resolutions that are really aligned for your highest good come true, and that you commit to them and they work. My biggest New Year's resolution is speaking highly of myself, having a positive mindset about myself with the things that I do, being gracious to myself, staying committed, but just having a positive attitude and positive thoughts, positive mind. I got rid of the bully in my head, which is a huge accomplishment. And so now I feel a lot better. And that update is on one of the episodes where I talk about positive self-talk. I don't know what I'll name it, but it's going to be the third one, because I did a first one, a second one, and this will be the third one, where I talk about that. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and I just pray all your wishes and dreams come true if they're for your highest good. And I can't wait to just work through 2024 and really just get to see how everybody's New Year's resolutions come true. I feel like this is a year where we can choose to really be committed and really get the fruits of our labor. Thank you all. Remember, I post 3 episodes a week. We go live on Mondays at 7:30. We do affirmations on Wednesday, and Friday is a surprise. And I'm wishing you all the best. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at The Butterfly Experience Podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube at The Butterfly Experience Podcast, and TikTok at The Butterfly X Pod. Is there anything else I want to say? Oh, another growth open mic happening January 26th. Much, much, much love, y'all. Until next time. Fly high, butterflies. Mwah.